let's get down to business. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Podcast, a podcast where you don't, I do Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom, to defeat the Huns, Grossi. And today, we are going to be breaking down and predicting each game in Week 13 of the 2024-2025 NFL season. And folks, we got, including this week, 6 games left. And that is it. The NFL postseason is coming up on the horizon. We got about one more month of football until we get to the playoffs, and things are starting to heat up, and we got some great matchups this weekend. Starting off with last week, I went a respectable 9-4. These were the games I got wrong last week, bringing my record to 114-66. And of course, there is still one person who is the reigning, defending, top spot in the Pick'em League, and that is Best Better with a record of 131-48, still absolutely crushing it. However, there are a bunch of folks who are right behind them, and so we'll see if we will have a new champion come this week. So starting off with the first of 3 Thursday Thanksgiving games, you got an NFC North showdown between the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions. The Bears. The one time that I want you to actually win, you could have defeated the purple incarnation of Satan. I would have been laughing along with you, but again, you disappoint me. And Bears fans right now, I think they've had just enough of Matt Eberflus disappointing them.
You know what I'm gonna do about it? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna tweet my displeasure.
A game which went into overtime. Caleb Williams played fantastic football. These past 2 weeks, he's been playing really well. Unfortunately, he allowed that sack in overtime, which really kind of just ended their potential hopes of winning that game. But the Bears have looked better these past couple of weeks. I know the defense hasn't looked as strong as we thought it might have been these past couple of weeks, but the offense and Caleb Williams seem to be humming along at least a little bit better than they have previously in this season. And they're going to be taking on the Detroit Lions, who they are just running through teams right now. They didn't allow a single touchdown from the Indianapolis Colts. The fan base is traveling well everywhere. And I know that there's some criticism right now about the Lions, about the quality of the opponent that they're playing. But my counter to that would be, listen, they can't choose who they're playing. Just like the Packers were able to knock off a 49ers team who is decimated with injuries, you just got to play the teams that are in front of you. And right now, the Lions, they're doing their job and they're kicking ass and taking names. This game should be pretty interesting. Being played in Detroit, of course, we know all about the Thanksgiving curse that the Lions are dealing with. But I do think that the Lions should be able to win this game. I think it'll be a little bit closer than people anticipated because, one, it is a playoff game. And like I mentioned, the Bears are playing better. But the Lions, I think, right now are just playing on a different level. Their run game is great. Their secondary is playing well. And if Caleb Williams is able to have another good game, I think it'll speak volumes to where the Bears could potentially be going if their franchise could ever stop shooting themselves in the foot. But I got the Lions being able to get to 11 wins, potentially clinching a playoff spot. They got to win and a bunch of other teams got to lose. But I got Detroit ending the Thanksgiving curse, getting some turkey on Thursday, and Lions just keep on rolling. Then, oh God, you got an NFC East showdown between the New Jersey Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. This game is the only Thanksgiving game that I am not streaming because I love football. And what this is going to be is probably not going to be much football because we got Tommy DeVito versus Cooper Rush on a Thursday afternoon.
We done? Good, I can take a nap now.
The Giants, they're awful. Tommy DeVito getting mocked by Baker Mayfield, and the Buccaneers just stomped the crap out of the Giants. When I was watching Red Zone while I was watching that game live, you could just see halfway through the fourth quarter all the Giants fans leaving, which honestly, Giants fans, kudos for even showing up. They're just a bad football team right now, and even Daniel Jones, he's on out of there. He just joined up with the Minnesota Vikings, which I'm sure things will be going better there. But breaking news, we might not be seeing Tommy DeVito on Thanksgiving. We might be seeing Drew Lock instead. because according to some reports, it seems like it is a long shot for Tommy DeVito to be able to play on Thursday. They'll be taking on the Dallas Cowboys, and speaking of struggling teams, that has been the Cowboys this season. However, they were able to turn their fortunes a little bit last week by getting a big divisional win over the Washington Commanders, and it seems like there's a little bit of hope. It's not much there. You're in a dark cave, and you just see a little pinhole of light that maybe they can pull themselves out of this cave. I don't think it's going to happen. I do think the Cowboys are going to win this football game, but without Dak for the rest of the year and just the way the Cowboys have been playing, I know their schedule isn't too bad. Yeah, I think just getting a higher draft pick is probably the better move to do here. But then again, Jerry Jones has not committed to firing Mike McCarthy. So Cowboys, you might be in the same position next season. But as of right now, the Cowboys should be celebrating at least a win on Thanksgiving. I just do not believe in the Giants enough. And the game between these two was pretty close earlier on the season. I just see the Cowboys running away with this. Micah Parsons will probably have a day. And Tommy DeVito, I'm sorry. Then you got the first of 4 primetime games for the Green Bay mother-loving Packers as the Miami Dolphins come to town. The Dolphins, we've been talking about them a lot in power rankings and talking about how their offense has been playing really well. Tua's looking real good, their run game is really great, and that defense has gotten better as well. Now, they have been playing some not-so-great teams and knocking off the Patriots, knocking off the Raiders, and the Rams. I think there's still a lot to be desired about the Rams right now, as illustrated on Sunday night. But the Dolphins, I don't think they are to be underestimated right now. They're still trying to look to claw their way back into postseason contention, and I think it's definitely possible. Meanwhile, for the Packers, they were able to get a big-time win over the injured San Francisco 49ers with a score of 38-10. The defense dominated that game, causing 3 turnovers. Jordan Love didn't have any interceptions, which was always a good day, and Josh Jacobs ran in for 3 scores. And for this game, Packers fans are hoping that the cold weather is going to make all the difference.
I'll give you a winter prediction. It's going to be cold, it's going to be gray, and it's going to last you for the rest of your life.
And this should be a pretty damn good game. Yes, I think the weather definitely benefits the Packers here, but I got no doubts that Tua and that offense are going to come in ready to play. Like I said, there's so many weapons that the Packers defense has to account for. Unfortunately, the Packers will be without Jair Alexander, Romeo Doubs, and Edgerrin Cooper. As it was announced today, they will not be participating in the Thanksgiving game against the Dolphins. But the Packers are going to need all the help that they can get to knock off this Dolphins team, because while the Dolphins haven't been the best this season, I'm not discounting that momentum, and they are just a different team when Tua is behind center. I am going to go with the Packers to get the win here because I think that cold weather is going to impact Tua. On top of that, the defense of the Packers have been playing really, really well. And if the offense is able to slow down the game, control time possession, and Josh Jacobs able to run over that defense, I think the Packers should be able to get a big-time, prime-time Thanksgiving win. And then on Thursday, they got the Lions. So a big Packers win here. Keep that momentum going. Then we got the Black Friday game between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Raiders, yeah, you put up a fight against the Denver Broncos, and that's a positive thing. Unfortunately, Gardner Minshew is out for the season, and I think Raiders fans are just done talking about football until at least they get a new QB.
All right. That's it. We're signing off of the internet.
Right now, they're planning on starting Aiden O'Connell, AOC, on Friday against the Chiefs, who, listen, the Chiefs, they went toe-to-toe with the Carolina Panthers and almost lost that game. There was flags flying everywhere. Patrick Mahomes took over the end of that game with a big-time scramble and eventually got the win with a game-winning field goal. And I know looking at the Chiefs right now, they don't look super-duper impressive. They've only lost 1 game, but I think a lot of it is being a bit overblown. While they are getting a bit lucky with some of their wins, there is some skill there with one of the best head coaches ever. And of course, that defense playing as well as it is. We're still waiting for Isaiah Pacheco to come back. And right now, looking at this game being played in Arrowhead, I don't think you're going to get a repeat of the Christmas fiasco you had last year where the Raiders were able to run all over the Chiefs and just destroy them via defense. I think the Chiefs will be able to pull out a win here, though I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game. Every single divisional game the Chiefs have played so far this year has been relatively close, so I imagine we're going to have another one here, even though the Raiders quarterback situation is not not great. So Kansas City gets another win here. Like I said in power rankings, we'll see how they finish out the season with some divisional games. But Kansas City gets a win, and they don't have another holiday ruined by the Raiders. Then you got the LA Chargers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. The Chargers participating in the Harbaugh Bowl on Monday night against the Baltimore Ravens. Unfortunately, Jim Harbaugh lost to his brother once again.
Everyone in this family hates me.
Then maybe you should ask Santa for a new family.
The Chargers not only losing that game, but also losing J.K. Dobbins, who's been having an excellent year. He has a sprained knee, so he'll be missing some time. And the Chargers, yeah, a little disappointing in that game. Yes, Quentin Johnston dropped a bunch of passes, but the Ravens defense definitely played better. And for the Chargers, their playoff hopes are definitely not in the toilet just yet, but they are going to have to elevate their play with J.K. Dobbins out, and I think that's going to be a bit tough. They're going up against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, the last time we saw them play, they got their ass kicked by Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. And I think for the Falcons, underwhelming would be a good word to use about their season. And that, again, I don't think they're a bad football team. I think they're a good team, but they're not a great team. I've said that for weeks, and I think that maybe you could start questioning about how good of a team they actually are, and this week will be a great test to see. Coming off a bye week, one that they definitely need, I'm still worried about their pass rush, and on offense, I just don't think they're consistent enough, especially for what Kirk Cousins is doing and the amount of money he's been paid. A little underwhelming to say the least. Here, I do have the Chargers getting the win here. I know J.K. Dobbins is out, and they definitely have receiver problems. And again, the potential for the Falcons to win, I think, is really high because on paper, they have a good football team. They have weapons. They have the talent. It's just about putting it together. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons are able to sneak away with the win, but the Chargers, I think, are just better coached. And on top of that, I believe in Justin Herbert more than I do Kirk Cousins and that Chargers defense. So because of that, I'm going with the Chargers to get a win. And Falcons, something's got to give at some point. Following that, a really interesting AFC North matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Steelers, getting their first loss with Russell Wilson. So now the time for fun. Steelers losing to the Browns on a snowy Thursday evening, in which was a really fun game as a viewer to watch, but damn, heartbreaking for the Steelers because Steelers fans, you have seen this time and time again, whether it's Mike Tomlin playing down a competition or just a division rival just stealing a win away from you. That's what happened on Thursday night as Myles Garrett absolutely dominated that football game. And the Steelers, I still think, are a good football team. Of course, their defense is still great, and I think that offense is pretty damn good too. It's just a matter of which Russell Wilson will show up. On top of that, can they get their ground game going? And if TJ Watt is removed from the equation on defense like he was against Cleveland, it's going to be a tough time. They're going to be going up against the Cincinnati Bengals, who it has been a disappointing season for, to say the least. Their defense has not been good. They found their run game, which has been nice, and Joe Burrow has been playing his ass off, but their offensive line is also really not great. And I think that speaks volumes as to where this game could go, considering the Steelers, they may be able to dominate up front in the trenches. And this game, I do think, is going to be pretty close. It is a divisional game. It is AFC North football. And while it is being played in Cincinnati, I am going to give the Steelers the win here. While I do think the Bengals offense is more explosive, I think the Steelers defense should be able to contain that. And like I said, I just don't believe enough in that Bengals defense to slow down the Steelers. While I don't think the Steelers have the greatest offense, they do enough to win the game here. So I have the Steelers getting a big time win here. And Kitty, going out. Then you got the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Minnesota Vikings. The Cardinals, every single time I try to believe in them, they do this. Not only were they defeated by the Seahawks, they freaking didn't score a touchdown. Oh, and they lost the bird battle.
Can you fly, you sucker? Can you fly?
And you call yourself a bird. The Cardinals just unable to do anything on offense. Kyler Murray running for his life. And again, to be fair, I mentioned this in power rankings, Geno Smith was also doing the same. He got sacked 5 times as well. Both offensive lines not looking good. And the Cardinals, they were my dark horse to potentially make the postseason, and I don't think that's completely out the window just yet. But they're going to have to win some of these games, and that rematch against the Seahawks that's coming up, that is pivotal. They're going to be taking on the Minnesota Vikings, the purple incarnation of Satan this week. And the Vikings, oh boy, as I mentioned before, would have really liked to see a Bears win. That game going into overtime, things kind of just fell apart for the Vikings at the end. However, they were able to get a crucial stop, got a big time sack on Caleb Williams, and eventually kicking that game winner. And right now, the Vikings, they're sitting in the driver's seat. While they're second in the NFC North, they have a fantastic record. This game being played at home. I like the Vikings' chances to win this game, though I would love to see a repeat of Vikings crying on the field after the Cardinals beat them all those years ago. I don't think we'll see that here. They did just get Daniel Jones on the practice squad, so he won't help things just yet. He has a playoff game to lose for them because that's what I'm manifesting right now. I got the Vikings getting the win. Their offense is looking pretty good. And while there are some gaps and some flaws with the Vikings, they should do enough against the Cardinals to get the win. And yeah, Purple Incarnation of Satan keeps on doing well. Great. Following that, you got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the New England Patriots. Woo! The Colts. Yeah, they struggled against the Detroit Lions last week, and Anthony Richardson, yes, he did not play his best game, but a lot of Colts fans are saying, hey, they also need receivers to catch the fracking ball. And honestly, I think both things are true. They're going to be taking on the New England Patriots, who got their ass kicked by the Miami Dolphins last week. Though the Patriots did put up some fight and Drake May is looking good, they were unable to get the win there. And honestly, both these teams are wishing they had a time machine that they could travel back and watch an epic QB rivalry unfold.
Everybody stand back. Oh boy. Okay.
But I just don't see that happening this week. This actually could be a pretty damn close game being played in New England. Drake May has shown those flashes. And then looking at the Colts, they're going to need Jonathan Taylor to have himself a big game. When he doesn't, the Colts usually struggle. And so here, I'm going to go with the Colts to get that win. I think if they're able to establish the run with Jonathan Taylor, they should be able to win this football game. I'm very curious to see how Anthony Richardson is going to play this week. And for the Patriots, their offense is very underwhelming, but Drake May has been shown that he could be the guy there in New England, and that was the most important part about this season. So I see them losing this week. They might end up winning in the long run with Drake May, but Colts, I'm giving you a win this week. Don't let me down. Then you got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the New Jersey Jets. The Seahawks, they got a big-time win over the Arizona Cardinals. We just talked about it. Offensive line didn't look good. The run game didn't look good. But the defense, the Mike McDonald defense, that was looking pretty damn good against the Cardinals, and they shut down anything Kyler Murray was trying to do. They're going to be taking on the New Jersey Jets this week, who are just trying to find some hope to hang on to. Their season is all but over, and they just fired their GM, Joe Douglas, so now he can join Robert Saleh on the couch.
So you get fired again, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I lost my job, too.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Because he can't join him in Green Bay. Sorry, we already have a GM. He's also really smart. But the Jets, yeah, this season has been probably the most disappointing in quite some time. And that's saying a lot because Jets fans are very much used to that disappointment. And this game, I actually am not completely shutting down the Jets' chances here. I think there's a decent chance for them to get a big win at MetLife. Seahawks on the road are a bit of an inconsistent team. However, I am going to go with Seattle to get the win. And the reason being is because the Jets' defense, talk about disappointing, that has been the most disappointing aspect about this team. While Aaron Rodgers is not playing at an elite level, he is still a good quarterback. Their offense just can't do anything, but the defense was expected to be able to carry that. They have not done that this season. And if the Seahawks are able to establish the run, I think they should be able to win this game because Breece Hall, he's been disappointing as well. And so overall, I think the Seahawks will get a big time win. They're looking to try and win their division and hold on to that number one spot in the NFC West. I think they do so this week, beating the Jets. And Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure he'll get announced as a cabinet member soon enough. Then, a game that might be closer than some anticipate, you got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Washington Commanders. The Commanders, they're on a 3-game losing streak right now, and now they got to play a Titans team that got some momentum?
I got a bad feeling on this one.
Wait, like how?
I got a bad feeling on this one.
Okay.
The Titans getting a big-time divisional win over their former best friend, the Strouds, on Sunday. Whether it's C.J. Stroud stepping out in the back of the end zone, whether it was Will Levis getting sacked 8 times, 7 in the first half, it did not matter. The Titans were able to do enough to win that game, and Will Levis showing flashes once again. If he doesn't make those big-time mistakes, who knows? He might still have a future in this league. They're going to be taking on the Commanders, who I just mentioned have been struggling, losing a tough division division game against the frackin' Cowboys. The Washington defense starting to show its true colors, perhaps. I know it was the expectation they weren't going to be great heading into the season, and I think the Commanders have overperformed up to this point, though I do think they are still a good football team. I know Cardinals fans are looking at Cliff Kingsbury just waiting for the drop-off, and maybe that is going to happen. But right now, I'm going to try and put some faith into Wildflower, into the Washington Commanders. I think they'll be able to get a win over the Tennessee Titans, though I imagine it's going to be a close game. We're just going to have to see how that Commanders defense is going to respond to Will Levis. And if they could stop the run game of Tony Pollard, who had a nice game on Sunday, the Commanders should get the win here. Though, again, I'm not super duper confident in the Commanders right now. I know their fan base is a little bit worried, and I think they have every right to be. So we'll see if Wildflower is able to pull this off. But as of right now, I got the Commanders getting a win. Following that, you got an AFC South divisional matchup between the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Texans, we just mentioned, they lost to the frackin' Titans. And honestly now, I'm afraid of what the Strouds are going to do to get revenge.
We could kill everyone.
So what do you think? I'm strangely comfortable with it.
A very disappointing outcome for the Texans last week, and they are praying that the curse of the top spot in the AFC South is not going to be transferred to them this year. Yeah, the Titans do it a couple years back. Yeah, the Jaguars do it last year. Is the curse coming for the Strouds? That remains to be seen. They're going to be going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, listen, there's some hope still out there because Trevor Lawrence is going to be practicing today. Not sure if he's actually going to be playing on Sunday, but that would be a huge boost because Mac Jones is not the answer in Jacksonville. And listen, Jacksonville, they're going to have an interesting offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if they finally get rid of Trent Baalke. I wouldn't be surprised they move on from Peterson. That defense has got to be better. That offense has to perform more. And the Jaguars, it's been a disappointing season overall. And listen, the Texans haven't lost in Jacksonville since 2017, so they got a tough road ahead of them. And again, with Trevor Lawrence's status up in the air, I'm going to have to go with the Texans here to get a win. Not only do they know how to beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville, but on top of that, if there's any possibility that Mac Jones plays, I just can't in good faith pick the Jaguars to get the win. So I'm going to get the Texans to get a bounce back win against Jacksonville. Sorry, Glitter Kitties, I don't think it's your week, but then again, it hasn't been your season. And Strouds, you better pray you're not cursed. Then you got the LA Rams taking on the New Orleans Saints. The Rams, oh boy, they got run all over by the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday night. 255 yards from Saquon Barkley. Matthew Stafford was running for his life because the Eagles' defensive line was raining down upon him, and it was a tough game. They're going up against the New Orleans Saints, who... little bit of optimism going on in New Orleans. The Riz has been unleashed with their interim head coach, and hey, Taysom Hill is a monster. Don't let him throw the ball, but hey, he can frackin' run it. And the Saints are an interesting football team. I will be very honest, I'm probably a little bit more down on the Saints than I should be, but it's just really tough to believe in them, especially with how the season started and how it's been going. But if Taysom Hill is being utilized well, the Saints could wind up shaking things up before the end of the season. I don't think they're going to win the division by any stretch, but we'll see how that offense is going to perform in these last 6 games. And overall, while Saints fans might not be particularly happy with how this season goes, they have a chance at redemption because we know that Saints fans have still not gotten over that no call in that NFC Championship game.
It's time to let old things die. No, you're still holding on! Let go!
And being played at home, I'd actually lean towards New Orleans to get the win here. However, I do believe a bit more in Matthew Stafford than I do Derek Carr. And on top of that, looking at that defensive line, if Jared Verse, who's been having a nice season, is able to get after Carr or Taysom Hill, I think the Rams should be able to get this win. I know it'll be a contested fight as both these teams are still trying to keep their playoff hopes alive, but I am going to go with the Rams to get the win here. I think that McVay coaching experience might have a play here as to why the Rams are going to get the win, but Rams get the W against the Saints. They're keeping their NFC West hopes alive. And Saints, maybe you'll still get that first-round pick for Taysom Hill. Then you got another NFC South divisional matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers. The Buccaneers rolling through the New Jersey Jets. Baker Mayfield's playing great. Mike Evans is back. Bucky Irving is doing well. And the Buccaneers, they're trying to reclaim their spot atop the NFC South. They're going to be taking on the Carolina Panthers, who, as we mentioned before, there's a glimmer of hope in Carolina.
They say that it is hopeless.
is always hope.
It's been a while indeed since there's been any optimism. Bryce Young has been playing really well. And again, that game against the Chiefs, it just feels like there's a lot more positivity in the coaching and the QB play. And the Panthers, who knows? Maybe they'll be able to rebuild the right way. And I would love for Bryce Young to actually have a real shot in the NFL, especially with the way he's been playing. So I do think the Panthers have definitely proven themselves ever since I ranked them as the worst team in the league. Their defense was 32nd. They have not been playing like that. Their offense had been struggling. They are doing much better since that video has been released. So you're welcome. No, I'm not that egotistical. However, I do think that optimism is going to be put on hold for this week as I do have the Buccaneers getting the win. It might be a closer game than people anticipated, just like you saw from the Chiefs and the Panthers last week, but the Buccaneers, they're rolling right now. They have the momentum. Baker's playing well. I think they get the win here. And Buccaneers, keep on firing those cannons, even though you're in Carolina. Then you got the game of the week, the game that everybody's waiting for, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Baltimore Ravens. We got the league's two rushing leaders going head to head.
I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
Saquon Barkley and the Eagles taking on Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens. Both teams coming off big primetime wins. The Eagles, as we mentioned, dominating the LA Rams. That defense just has been playing so damn well. And while they're not a good first half team, they are just grinding team down in that second half with that defense. And of course, Saquon Barkley. The Ravens, they were able to get a brotherly win over the LA Chargers on Monday night, mostly because of Derrick Henry, but also the Ravens defense, which played really damn well on Monday night. And taking a look at this game, you can imagine that both teams are going to run the ball a significant amount. Right now, the Ravens have the second best rushing defense, while the Eagles have the sixth best rushing defense. And so this is going to be a battle to see which running back can actually break through that defensive front, who is good for both teams. Being played in Baltimore, I do think you give the edge to the Ravens here, though the Eagles have proven that they can win on the road. On top of that, Lamar Jackson has a pretty damn good record against NFC opponents. They don't lose those games very frequently, and this game could come down to the wire. I think ultimately this is going to be a fantastic football game, and I'm just going to go with my gut here. I'm going to go with the Ravens to get a win. I know Eagles fans are going to be a little bit upset about that, and I think there's a decent chance they wind up winning this football game. But if Lamar Jackson is able to avoid the pressure that defensive line is going to be sending at him, and they're able to establish the run because the Ravens' run defense is just a bit better than the Eagles, I think they should be able to win this game. I think it's going to come down to the second half. If the Ravens have a lead, can they hold on to it? The Eagles can definitely claw their way back and can control the clock in the second half. So like I said, I would not be surprised if the Eagles win. But the Ravens right now, the way they've been playing, it's one of those weird NFC AFC games. I think they should be able to get the win, stopping Saquon Barkley. And if they could do that, I think the Ravens got a great chance to win this football game. Then on Sunday Night Football, you got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Buffalo Bills. The 49ers, yeah, they've had a lot of bad luck this season.
I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide.
They're decimated on the field. They got beat up by the Packers because they didn't have their starting left tackle, quarterback, and also star edge rusher. But it's been more than just injuries. The team is just not looking the same. Their defense has been disappointing. The offense, it's tough to get things going. And yeah, they're going to have a tough matchup against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday night, who they enjoyed a bye week last week, but they are sitting atop their division. If the Dolphins lose on Thursday night against the Packers and the Bills win, they will have clinched the AFC East, so just dominating that division heading into week 13. Josh Allen is playing well. If they're able to establish that run game, and on the defensive side, Matt Milano returns. Oh boy, you're cooking with gas here with the Buffalo Bills. McDermott did say that Milano was going to practice throughout the week, though not guaranteeing that he was going to be there on Sunday night. I don't think the Bills are going to need him to win this football game. Being played in Buffalo, this is going to be a tough matchup for the 49ers, regardless of who's healthy and who's not. Of course, if Brock Purdy is playing, it's going to make things a lot better. But right now, I got the Buffalo Bills continuing that momentum, likely winning their division this week. And from there, just see how high you can get in the seeding. Then finally, on Monday Night Football, you got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Denver Broncos. The Browns pulling off a big Thursday night win in the snow against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Browns fans, they're just proud of Jameis for getting another divisional win.
And it's not that I needed him to do it, But damn, did it feel good to see him do it, huh?
And listen, I don't think the Browns' season is going to be saved in any way, shape, or form, but this is something nice to build upon. I'm sure they're going to get a new quarterback, or at least drafting a quarterback next year, because they got to figure out what the hell they're going to do there in Cleveland. And oh boy, that's going to be a big mess. We'll see how Nick Chubb is going to play during this game as well. He had a couple of touchdowns on Thursday. But overall, for the Cleveland Browns, it's been a disappointing season, to say the least. While I do like their defense, it's been inconsistent at times. And here, going up against the Denver Broncos, they're going to need that defense, because Bo Nix, he's been playing pretty damn good football. And a big staple of that Broncos team has also been their defense. And so you're going to have two good defenses going against one another, being played in Denver. I think this is going to be a very close game, and I would not be surprised if it is very low scoring. Courtland Sutton kind of carried the Broncos last week against the Raiders, and as I said, it wasn't the prettiest win, but if their defense can continue to be consistent, and if they can force Jameis Winston to make mistakes, I think the Broncos should be able to take this game in prime time. Like I said, I think it's going to be very low scoring. Both offenses do leave some to be desired, and if Myles Garrett can wreak havoc on Bo Nix, this might be just a field goal game. But I'm going to go with the Broncos to get a big-time win, continuing that momentum and trying to punch their ticket to the postseason. Denver, I'm believing in you, or should I say, I'm Bo-leaving. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who do you see winning this week? How do you see these games shaking out? Let me know. You guys find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media, see down below. A big shout and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.